Okay, use more salt. I'll show you a use more salt. You can say, nama no niku hiki desu. Kore wa nama no desu ka? Oh, that's a neat one. Oh, so you can say that, huh? Interesting. Moto. Moto. Okay. Just double checking on my salt levels right now. Okay. 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 I was at an Asian retreat today, and I noticed that so many of them follow the exact same blueprint. Have a perm, do all APS in high school, go to a prestigious college, get a STEM degree. Indeed. Wow, you know, I haven't even voiced it that I haven't ever considered expressing it that way before. Have a perm. What do you mean by have a perm? What does perm mean? I should have. Oh, the bowl cut thing. Oh. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, for males, the bowl cut. Yeah. So, wow, you go to a very that retreat must have been some privileged one. So like here's a contrast. I'll share something. It's a little bit of story time. We can take a little break here. So, for me, since I'm second gen, right? I'm second gen diaspora, right? So diaspora meaning I'm someone that is away from where my family's somewhere else from where they are. So I'm second gen. Basically, my parents are immigrants. And usually I'm a diaspora from a place that is less privileged. So, you know, not as don't really hit the ground running. So my parents run restaurants, right? Or ran restaurants. So there are things. So the whole like AP in high school, I wasn't able to get that right away because I actually transferred to a we're gonna call it an affluent district, pretty much around middle school. And by that time I was already like behind. So, and by the time I got to high school, yeah, I took some AP courses, college prep, AP courses in high school, but not in the sense of taking all, because I was behind, right? I was catching up. My grades were still good because my grades were still reasonable, since if you can't qualify for the AP courses, you scale back to a class that you can get at least good grades, right? So here's the thing. Since I was underprivileged, I didn't quite meet all those standards. So it's one of those things, the deep cut. When you're behind in life, it's very difficult to catch up. So not only was I behind in middle school, I was also behind in high school. So I had less AP. I went to the first college I knew, which the way I discovered the first college was actually, it was my chemistry teacher's college. So I went to my chemistry teacher's college. And at some point, and finally, by the time I graduated from college, I was able to enter, or actually, not even. So after college, I went and did a post-bac as an after-college program, which helped me catch up even more, but I'm also still behind because I was in this program for greater than 2 years. And then finally, with all that work, I was able to enter a prestigious college, a prestigious graduate school. Yeah. So, and funny thing about the whole haircut thing, I was the kid that had different colored hair. I had different colored hair, and it was like, I don't know, it was like spiked hair. So like I didn't fit in. Like that's what happens when your life gets shifted by privilege. So when you're describing you were at an Asian retreat, I can almost certainly say that you went to a retreat filled with incredibly privileged Asian people, and that's great. That's pretty sweet that it's still happening. For me, I can tell you that every part of my life was being reminded of how underprivileged I was, but it didn't stop me from continuing to try, right? And that is to this day, right? Whenever I'm learning something, doing things, nothing really stops me. Because when I entered in middle school, actually in elementary school, my parents were just getting started. So elementary school was basically, it lacked any formal education, as in like it was very behind. It was a very low social economic area, right? I really appreciate, I still remember the teachers' names, like most of the teachers' names that left impressions on me, but it was very, very low. Like I was a top student. You can be a top student just by being present every day, right? And then we finally moved to middle school and I was behind. I didn't have money. Like we moved to a very affluent place, so you had to like fit in social decorums and stuff. So I was already 2 years, I'm gonna say a solid 2 years behind, even though during this time, during middle school and high school, I was identified as a gifted person, like a kid that was gifted but behind in a lot of things because I didn't have formal education on top. So I was always behind, like behind the valedictorians, behind all the people who have more resources. But because of that, I've always felt more at home when I'm working and being underestimated. I think most of my life, I think substantially, the vast majority of the people in my life that I interact with professionally underestimate my abilities. However, the people that I want to thank all the time are the people who saw that I had potential. I'm not sure if I did such a great job. I always tell them, like, they could have picked any of those shining, permed AP plus kids who came from prestigious colleges, but everyone along the way. That's why I love teachers and professors. Every one of those people along the way that decided I was worth investing time in, as opposed to those others who has the pick of the litter. Like, they can pick whatever they want. So if that advisor that chose me instead of them, they just go off to the next highest bidder or even a higher bidder. So I have always been in my life been incredibly grateful that I got so lucky where at each of these intersections, at middle school, high school, college, graduate school, even my post-bac, I had the luck of being able to find someone who was able to tell me and trust me that I was able to do something. So that's kind of a great way to explain why my perspective, in my opinion, rarely coincides with incredibly, a lot of times, brilliant people, but incredibly brilliant, privileged people. And lots of times, even on the internet, that's kind of the mentality. People treat other people like it's easy. Like, for example, a video comment I got yesterday. Someone told me, and I think it's a very serious question, and I try to answer it very seriously. Isn't going to Japan and living in full immersion better time spent than spending 100 days on Duolingo? I mean, the answer is likely yes. Like, I don't have any disagreements with this, right? But you have to read in between the lines. So what does this mean to me? What does this statement mean to me? It means that this person assumes it is very easy for someone to uproot your life, go to a foreign country, all for the pursuit of something as superficial, in my opinion, as superficial as learning Japanese quicker, more ideally. So most of my life, when people talk about, like, this is better, this is better, this is the best, you should do this, you should do that, right? That's not how I rolled the first 30 plus years of my life. You roll with the punches. You make things work when you don't have them, right? So that type of perspective, I think, at the same time, it's a reasonable question. Like, yeah, right. So are you going to pay for my ticket, go to Japan, apply for the visa, right? Find some professional satisfaction, not be alienated or discriminated against in a homocultural environment when I'm multicultural, and also have all my parents and immediate family also move to that country. So while it's a very innocent question, oftentimes it's an innocent question for someone who's barely an adult, who's someone who is probably less than 20 or have no family to concern themselves with, who have no attachment to their identity. So that's kind of the idea on these. And these questions happen all the time, right? It happens all the time. So it's like, oh yeah, but it's easier to do it this way. It's like, well, yeah, sure. If you decide to ignore the human aspect. But you know, I think it's pretty funny that everyone has like the standard bowl cut and all the AP, high school, and prestigious college. The whole the prestigious college thing. I remember this is the moment. Here's one of my few moments in my life that I earnestly thought, I know what I'm doing now. I'm fairly confident that I can make it work. And that's when the moment when I went to interviews. So after your college years, you have to apply. And if you're going to graduate school, right, you have to apply to at least five graduate schools or more. And what you do is they invite you on those interviews, and then you go to the campus and you meet your other candidates, right? So I applied to 5, and we're invited to 5 interviews. And oftentimes during that, you get to meet your quote-unquote competition. A lot of times they're not so much competition, but other people who want to go to the same school that you want to go to. And all the time I would sit there and just listen. And what do I hear? Prestigious or prestigious, depending on your accent. Prestigious college names being thrown around everywhere. Everyone's like incredibly well dressed, like super well dressed. Throwing around places like Stanford, Princeton, MIT. And my only thought was, I might as well listen. I have nothing to contribute. I went to a college that I would be extraordinarily surprised if maybe 2% of the United States actually know where my college is. Right? I would be pretty surprised, actually. However, you get this, you sit there, and the moment in this life is when I went to all of these interviews, and my first thought is, doesn't matter. I will do well enough in the interview. And that's kind of when I realized that, yeah, if you're confident in the sense of you can talk and express yourself and be able to know what you have done thus far, this stuff, to me, it's great to have them. It's icing on the cake. But if you can't communicate and express yourself, right, and know what to do, like problem solve and whatnot, this stuff, that is prescribed. That is prescribed path. And what happens is you have to elevate yourself above that. So what can you do to differentiate if that person's from MIT and that person's from Stanford and I'm from a no-name school? That's usually the phrase, right? No-name school. Well, I have experience. I have experience where these people do not. And they have experiences too, by far. But I have to demonstrate that, right? So that's kind of my thought whenever someone says like, yeah, man, you should be using Anki. I'm 10 times faster using Anki, and I'm like so-and-so, and that's kind of the idea, right? Yes, you can use all of those things. But the question is, how do you use all of them? Right? If you're writing, that's what I mean by everyone has the same perm. everyone has the same perm, have all the same AP courses, and going to all the same prestigious colleges. So yeah, cool. So now you're all on the same playing field, right? Same playing field. So how do you decide who wins? Or who do you choose, right? And here, I'm sitting most of my life thinking, I don't have any of these things. Heck, I mean, I wouldn't want that perm. Just saying. I don't want that bowl cut. But here, I don't have any of these things for most of my life. And the thing is, I don't really miss it. It's one of those fun little things about life, right? I could differentiate myself from this. So that's kind of one of the things. Actually, now I'm kind of curious, Gabriel. Why were you at an Asian retreat, by the way? Are you in a process of also like advancing in whatever your career is? I often think my word of advice a lot of times, if I were to like provide any unsolicited advice to people, sometimes the things that you struggle with, the things that you don't have, being able to make more of those things and not rely specifically on the gold standards or what other people think you should do can be one of the greatest boons in your life. It can define lots of things you're capable of doing that others don't. So, not that it always works out. Obviously, you don't go out and saying, oh, I can make this work, right? You take in those feedback. But the thing is, you're doing more than that. What am I doing more using Duolingo than other people? Well, all the people who don't want to see it won't see it, and that's perfectly fine, right? I'll naturally tell them again and again that, well, it didn't work out for you, but perhaps I'll make it work, right? And that is the great selling point. If you had to sell yourself. Obviously, I'm not really pressured into selling anything. I don't have secrets. At least I don't think I have secrets worth selling. It'll be interesting in the future what I have to say about Duolingo and everything else. But yeah, we had 3 separate comments on 3 separate occasions. Very, very, in my opinion, incredibly privileged people. Or people who blindly follow without critical thinking. I think there's a great weakness to knowing things versus actually doing them in this day and age. I like someone saying this doesn't work for me without ever knowing if it did or did not. Most of the time it's on assumptions. Like, oh yeah, you can't be successful. Imagine being told this. You can't be successful because your family is poor. That's, I don't know, Gabriel, like what your cultural background is, but I can tell you that I wasn't joking when I said that. That is actually something that I've been told in my life many times. Oh, you can't be successful because you're behind, right? And it's not that, it's actually, I'm gonna say, you have to be really lucky as well. So there's a lot of ounces of truth to all those individuals that I'm referring to. Regardless, it's nice to be lucky sometimes and also very appreciative for your luck. That happens. But you don't get lucky by following in people's shadows. You get lucky when people notice you. So I just happen maybe to be exceptionally lucky in sticking out somehow and early enough. Imagine doing what everyone else does at an age where you no longer have to, right? Hey, very funny observation though. The same exact blueprint. Yeah, it does feel like that sometimes, especially when it comes to homocultural, basically monocultural backgrounds. That would be their collective monocultural backgrounds. If you go to like I don't know, I still remember when you go to like the last Asian retreat kind of thing that I went to, pretty much everyone is STEM. Everyone's STEM. I mean, including me. I was STEM too. At some point, I did catch up and ended up being part of STEM. Although I didn't quite make it to medical school, right? I didn't quite make it to medical school. You went to an Asian retreat to help your Chinese journey? Oh, interesting. I see. Did you get an opportunity to use, like, or learn or do something with Chinese? That is such a clever way. That's such a clever way to gain interaction for Chinese. And I already pretty much assumed it was a Chinese thing because the thing you described sounds like something I'm so all too familiar with. But I noticed a lot of them only speak English. Yeah, you'll probably get that. Yep, a lot of them don't care about their language. Okay, so I wouldn't say they don't care, they just don't have time, in my opinion. So like my parents were similar in that nature. So if it was a Chinese dominant retreat, let's say there were a lot of Chinese people there, it's pragmatism. So pragmatism typically rules with an iron fist. Anything extra means that is extra, extracurricular. So my parents, instead of staying in a city where they taught bilingual stuff, they moved to another location to make a better life for the family. And the first thing they talked about when my sister and I would inquire from time to time about our mother tongue, they would say, well, you need to learn English. That's why we came here. Like, English is going to propel your career, right? So it's kind of like that guy who told me, hey, you should stop using Duolingo. But a better use of your time is go to Japan and learn from Japanese people. And that's what you should do. That is the most pragmatic way, is the most hyper-objective way to appreciate something and get it done quickly. That is the pragmatism that one may say. So it's not they don't care, they don't have time to care about it. And oftentimes, English is priority number one. Especially if you're talking to other Chinese people. If you're looking for other Chinese people, they are lightly prioritizing their careers, and their careers would, this might be bad to say as well, but a lot of them are like robots to you. Yes, I know how that sounds, but I know where you're coming from. And I've already expressed that about myself. When I was younger, I was a robot. I was effectively a robot, one of many. Follow this way and only this way. No feelings along the way. Whatever anything gets you to the top, it is the best way. Yep. And it's interesting because even if you're privileged, as in what I mean is, the next Chinese person, like I came from an underprivileged background, but I still continue to strive to be those people. Like I try to be that robot, the one that, it's no time for friends. You can't make friends unless they'll help you on your career. So like you make business partners. So you focus on networking to make business partners. You don't focus on being chummy with people. You're not making friends, you're making friends with a competition, right? Or a collaborator. And then all that pragmatism is no time for extracurriculars. Those things won't help you in your career. Like Smiling won't help you in your career. Merit will. If you look miserable, but you're working hard and you're promoting that results, put it down. You know, turn that frown into a muted look and continue. I was a product of that, for sure. And even in the United States, I still was like that for at least up to high school. There was this little tiny story that kind of changed my life a little bit, and it wasn't even told to me. Like, no one told me this per se. It was through a third party. I met my best friends. I met my best friends in my life, in college. You know, that quote unquote no name college in the middle of nowhere, right? It's not that no name. It's when this no name reference is due to other people looking at it, like those who are in prestigious colleges. So I met my best friend, and you know, after a year, we were basically roommates. We were roommates. We had all overlapping classes, and we all had the same advisor as well. And one time, I don't, now my memory is starting to be fleeting a little, but it meant a lot to me, but I don't think it meant a lot to my friends or the advisor. But one day, this advisor, who is like the person that has changed, like shifted my personality, like my college years were the years when I started shifting away from being a robot, right? That unfeeling person, like, well, it sucks to suck. I'm good. So let me keep getting A's, and that's what makes me worth more than you. That kind of robot thing, like objective, very objective kind of thing. So when I met my best friends, that's when it all shifted. And one day, this advisor, who like kind of means the world professionally to me, and also as a friend now, I like to think, he told one of my friends, which by the way, the friends I'm referring to, they happen to be triplets. They happen to be identical triplets. So my roommates were the three of them. One of them were told by the advisor that they made this comment where my advisor asked one of the brothers, like, to the extent of like, what did you guys do? Because I haven't ever seen me, as in him, smile that much. Just think about it for a moment. Like, when my friend told me that my advisor inquired a weird observation about me, and that observation, this is after 1 year, so we've already been 1 year through college, right? And I was in this transition point, and that friend said like, oh yeah, you know, our advisor asked me this weird thing, and they mentioned that it's like, yeah, what did you guys do? It's like, I haven't ever seen me smile that much. And that's kind of what I mean. So when you're talking about the whole robot thing, following this way and only this way, no feelings along the way, and you kind of see that muted look in most people, like, oh yeah, that smile seems mechanic, right? Mechanical. Sometimes smiles can be deceptive. It's quite mechanical. Like, you're smiling because you have to, not you smile because you're genuinely happy, right? Or know how to express happiness. And that's what that advisor was asking, like, smiling genuinely. And that was when it took me till when I was between the ages of 19 and 20. And honestly, if I had to really be real with myself, I don't think I've ever been happy, like that happy before then. Like, what I mean by that is, I don't think I was sad, but I wasn't. I'm gonna put it in quotes. I don't think I was overtly sad or depressed, but I wasn't also happy either. Or maybe I wasn't even capable of expressing being happy. So ever since then, right? That's close to 20 years ago now, because I'm 37. I'm 37 now. So the like sappy, touchy-feely person that I am today is not because of the product of this hyper objective lifestyle that everyone wants right now, or feels like they must have, right? Like when someone comes in, it's like, dude, you're wasting your time. There are better ways to do this. That's not necessarily it's not malicious, in my opinion. Most of the time, it's not malicious. Usually, it's like projected kindness. Projected kindness, right? As in, they're frustrated that they can't, like, they need to do all these things. And then they hope that you need to do all these things because these things are supposed to be important to everyone. They're not. They're not to me. They're not. They're not to me. But I have to be sensitive and be understanding that it is important to them. It is important to them. And what's interesting about that is what I fear about those people. As in, what I mean is, I wasn't any happier being that. And I might be doing the same thing back. As in, all right, let's chill for a moment. I have already been there. However, I'm not saying it's going to happen. But hear me out here. I know what it's like to be a robot and be focused on hyper objectifying everything in your life. Like efficiency. Maybe, please, try to make it, like, perhaps consider making room for a balance of the two. Like, there are times where you can slow down. So the question to relate back to Japanese is, I like Japanese. I like learning Japanese. Honestly, making it faster is irrelevant. It's incredibly irrelevant if you're choosing to do something voluntarily that you enjoy. Meanwhile, you can still do that with your work and your career, for sure. So there's a time to be a robot. And then there's a time to have fun or like enjoy the journey, right? I don't see where I'm going, where I ever give the impression that I need to hurry up on doing any of this stuff. But it doesn't stop people from kindly projecting their insecurities about their own experiences and their own expectations. That, in my opinion, is how Asian cultures, especially Chinese and Japanese people, maintain consistency. Really great consistency. That's awesome. At the expense of individualism. That it's a trade-off. Like, if you want to fit right? You become less unique. So you have to choose, right? Where are you on this? But in terms of how Asian cultures work, at least in Chinese, you're more in the fit versus, oh, sorry. You're more in the going towards fitting in, like the standard, than becoming unique. And I grew up in the United States, so a lot of times you don't necessarily need to only fit. So if you're doing what everyone else is doing, it's great. You can meet the standards. Ultimately, though, you also need to be able to stick out. So you need both. So oftentimes when people focus on one thing, they're only focusing on one thing, the prescribed path. And in my opinion, there's room for both. 3 things. 4 things. You gotta keep your options open. What happens when you're behind? In Asian culture, you're behind. If you get behind, you get left behind. So how do you change that? My whole life, in my opinion, is about catching up. But did I really have to catch up? Instead, it's more like I started here and everyone started here, right? And here's the finish line, whatever that finish line is. Everyone started here. So they're going at a pace and I'm going at a pace. You could choose to go faster and catch up, or I deviated away from the path. I found something else. So not only am I now not in competition, in my opinion, with many things I do with other people, I'm not concerned with competition. I have a non-compete with most of them, right? And that's kind of the story of my life. So I tend to strive to non-compete. I want to help people. I want to help people be competitive. However, I myself do not want to compete with them. But also, complacent is Asians' worst fear and is very common. I almost asked them, how much work do you guys want to do until you take a break? Did they answer? The answer is probably, in my opinion, you take a break when you're dead. Or, quote unquote, when you made it. And then when you made it, it's a moving flagpole that keeps moving. So effectively, it still means until you're dead. That's usually how that goes, in my opinion. Like, I'm being figurative. I'm being figurative about this. You work until you make it. It's the same way they see about getting an A minus, yeah. Yep. The Asian F. As back in my millennial days, it's called the Asian F. An A minus. The Asian F. The good old Asian F. Yeah. So you either break down trying your hardest, or you make it or you make it. But what does that mean, make it? My parents still don't feel like they made it. It's pretty, having 2 relatively functional kids and being able to retire and choosing not to retire still, that kind of thing. That's the moving flagpole. And it's great in a sense that they'll continue to try and do things. There are pros, right? There are pros and cons. Right? Pros and cons. Know your circumstances, though. Know your circumstances. Nowadays, when I see an A minus, I see someone trying hard. Harder. is probably the word. Because if you're always getting 4.0s, how do you know how hard you're working? So here's a double edge about a prescribed path. If you have a prescribed path, that means you can't work harder, or the good news is you don't typically work, you're less lazy, right? You don't work below the mark, but you don't work above the mark either, right? You're less likely. So instead of, and when you're on a prescribed path, you are less likely to explore options, right? You could still get to the same position possibly, but the prescribed path is the straightest path. It's the most efficient. It's the most efficient path. Well, my path kind of looked like this until it didn't, right? Here's the narrow until it didn't, and I ended up here. So, it's a different way of living, but generally speaking, yeah, I want to say I was like kind of here, you know, it kind of looked like this, and then suddenly it just fell off the face of the map. It's no longer even in the same universe as of probabilities. So that's kind of the thing, right? And what are these kinks? Like, all these kinks are the people that I'm talking about, the people that shaped my life. So I was able to have people shape my life, not some hyper accumulated objectified min-maxed path that many people adhere to. And I still see that now. It's not even about careers. We're not even talking about careers anymore. The mentality carries to anything now. Like, any skills. Somehow any skills has become objectified. Any skills. Hey, my guy, you're eating salad wrong. This is how you're supposed to eat salad to maximize your enjoyment. So wait. Careful, guys. Careful. Did you know you're breathing wrong? Remember, you're breathing wrong. You're breathing wrong, guys. You gotta work on your breathing, because there's an efficient way to breathe and not an efficient way to breathe. It's just like the leaderboard comment I said. I just never got around to hearing your response. Oh, what leaderboard? Oh, you mean like the Duolingo leaderboard? Yeah, it's kind of fun. Are you talking about Duolingo leaderboard? It's alright. Sometimes I choose to participate, sometimes I don't. If that's what you're talking about. Sometimes I go on, sometimes I don't. You know, on and off. There's a time and place for everything. My answer to most things when it comes to competition is I do it long enough to know when not to do it. And then because of that, I get to choose how to participate. Where the company benefits from the time you spend on the app, and it is super easy. Yeah. If you know that, then you get to choose. Yeah. That's kind of it. I'm not gonna go around telling how other people should spend their time on the app and how easy it is and how hard it is to do things. But At least I'm aware of what it does, right? So I really have no reservations about what I would do. However, I like to participate and know when I can quit. So I do things because I want to, right? And I do things being realistic about it, not some fear-mongering FOMO things going around, right? With leaderboards, it's always a battle. Yeah. I don't know. Were you here when you have to stay in the top 100 or you will lose? Yeah. So, leaderboard things. I think we might have talked about this subject a little bit. Now we're gonna digress here because it's always worth talking about these things. Hyper objectivity is where leaderboards come in, right? Because leaderboards are metrics. So the question is, do you understand what the metrics measure, right? For me, I try to look at leaderboards and what they mean, right? What they mean or what they measure. I mean, this is usually your whole like scientific methodology kind of approach. And the idea is it useful or is it not, right? Sometimes feelings drive leaderboards. So if you're not top 10 or top 100, it's usually driven, in my opinion, by feelings, not by knowledge of what the leaderboard means most of the time. So a super easy system to allow companies to benefit from time spent is feeding on the intuition of feelings, of being something, whatever this something is. So like for example, Duolingo has a leaderboard. Well, I'm not going to expound upon what this leaderboard actually measures, but I can tell you enough of how to mechanically get on the leaderboard per se, and I ask myself, does it interest me, right? At least my interest is informed by how I understand the leaderboard. Lots of individuals, though, use the leaderboard as a way to get feelings. So one of the, in my opinion, when it comes to leaderboards, what feeds well is a source of affirmation. So when you see your name on a leaderboard, it provides a source of affirmation. This affirmation is kind of within your control most of the time. The moment it is out of your control, then this person will become toxic, right? Because generally the people I'm talking about is dependent on the source of affirmation. My perspective on leaderboards is one that is, I either want it, but I don't need it. Right. So when you think about leaderboards, you can think about it in a sense like, do I need to participate in the leaderboard? Well, my self-esteem isn't dependent on whether I'm in the top 100 or not. And then there isn't anything like barring me from telling myself I'm not worthless, right? That kind of thing. So let's not even talk about leaderboards. Let's talk about figurative leaderboards. What are figurative leaderboards? It's actually quite not a big difference. Figurative leaderboards. I will say, if I say something like, if someone approaches me, a total stranger approaches me right now, and they propose their first question they'll ask me is, how long did it take you dot. The very likelihood is this person requires a source of affirmation that is dependent on a figurative leaderboard. And what I mean by that is, they didn't ask how I was doing or like what my thoughts are. They asked how long did it take me to do something, because they want to compare it to how long maybe them personally or someone they know, an expert they know, how long it takes. But this is pretty okay. I think this is still being a little bit considerate. The more common response is you will take too long doing what you're doing. And that's a leaderboard all the time. So things like someone told me you should laugh more and play video games more. Also quit Duolingo while you're at it. What is that? A leaderboard. So where do they get the idea that I should laugh more? Well, it gives you more views. Leaderboard. Play more video games. Leaderboard. Quit Duolingo. Leaderboard. The word I would use is efficiency. Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. It's almost as toxic of a word, in my opinion, unintentionally toxic of a word, as the word fluency. Actually, let's just throw in other words. Immersion is pretty toxic too. And not in the sense of like toxic as in malicious. It's used nebulously. All these words are used nebulously to create a leaderboard. So like, how long is it going to take you to get to fluency? Leaderboard. How long would it take you to use Duolingo instead of immersion? Leaderboard. You're making comparisons. And yeah, you can definitely do comparisons when you're talking about careers. Right? At least determine if the person is learning Japanese. For example, learning Japanese for fun because they want to. You know, like myself, because they want to, or, you know, they're racing. Sure. Good luck, guys. Good luck. Ready, set, go. Go for it. Race to fluency all you want. Race to fluency all you want. I'm gonna be smiling and enjoying my time. So, you know. It's fine and dandy. You know, that's super true. They always say save output for last because it can form bad habits, like don't write characters or learn to speak. But if you need to have a grid notebook and a native speaker to help correct you, yeah, I mean, that's fine. It is what they want. So for me, well, I guess I'll just have to be happy with and it's actually kind of frustrating. I think the most frustrating thing to a person's affirmation, in my opinion, especially a robot, quote unquote, is when you see outliers. When you see outliers, right? Something in the Japanese culture that resonates with the Japanese culture is hammer down the nail that sticks out, right? That's not really the proverb, but you hammer down the nails that stick out. I think one of the cores of a person's affirmation is oftentimes when someone can't comprehend something, they try to write it away. So the comments I tend to get when someone wants to hammer me down is that, dude, 8 hours of Duolingo? Something's got to be wrong, right? Something's got to be wrong. Something's got to be wrong with this kid. Like this guy looks like a kid. Like, is he like going to implode or something? Like, how could you spend 8 hours every day? Like, what's your day job? Well, you know, you could have started with that question first. I would most definitely love to hear what you think my day job is. I think my favorite questions are to ask what they think because they already assumed everything. I can't tell you how many times someone said, oh yeah, did you spend 8 hours every day actually using Duolingo? That's I actually got this word yesterday. Psychopathic. Or it feels psychopathic. I totally misspelled psychopathic. It's kind of funny. The irony here is I'm using Duolingo because I'm not psychopathic. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term psychopathic, but if we had to unpack what being psychopathic is, it's lacking empathy, is lacking emotional awareness. Gonna be honest with you. Anyone who doesn't understand and is detached from their empathy would easily write off someone who is doing something that's incredibly hated, divisive, and they can't understand it. Empathy and emotional awareness is what makes this possible. It's literally the opposite of what this person is suggesting. Like, in order to love to stream 8 hours of Duolingo every single day is literally the opposite of lacking empathy. In fact, it requires a lot of passion. It requires a lot of concern, lots of emotional strength. It's literally the opposite. If you're a psychopath, do you know what a psychopath looks like? Robots. Because guess what? They lack emotional awareness. What do robots look like? Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. That's the irony here. It's so ironic. Almost counterintuitive, even. How could you ever think that someone is doing something irrational? Like, not objectively meaningful. Like, oh man, anime is so much faster. Anki is 10 times faster. Why does this guy do this? They must be a sociopath. Like, well, no, it's actually the opposite. You don't do irrational things if you're not connected with your emotions. You do rational things. You're objective. You're incredibly hyper objective. You only do things, the best things. That's psychopathic. Always focusing on what is the best thing and not how you feel. All right? So, YouTubers and content creators are passionate people. They make content because they want to. It's not driven by and you might be thinking like, oh no, but they obey trends and stuff. Yeah, and if you get an interview with those content creators, you'll hear them say, yeah, we have to do it to keep the business going. But the stuff that we really like to do are our passion project. So when it comes to content creation, you will hear that the robotic mechanical things that are necessary are literally the things that people provide advice on. Like, oh yeah, this is the most optimal way. Like, well, you know that doesn't sustain. That's what burnout is. Burnout is when you start ignoring all the things that drive you emotionally. You become less and less emotionally aware, and you become stuck with leaderboards. What do leaderboards look like? The top 10 YouTubers, trending, viewership, that type of thing is the part that burns people out. Literally, the psychopathic part, the hyper-objective part. So, it translates from Asian culture, it translates from high school, middle school, it translates from conditioning on following the path. What is the most valuable part of a YouTuber or content creator? To me, it's not viewership. Now, to people who have to operate a business, it's a necessary means, right? I appreciate that. They have to advertise. They have to create products. They have to sell to keep their business afloat. I don't think those are the genuinely fun parts of their job, right? Do I have a native speaker friend to help me correct on to help me on Japanese? Nope. Nope. I do not have a single Japanese person. It's everyone I talk to right here, right now. And honestly, I actually low-key use Duolingo to possibly attract people who may or may not be able to help me, but largely for people who have access to those things. Will I be interested in having a friend who either learns Japanese with me or can speak Japanese? Sure. I think like most things, I take opportunities. I call them opportunities, by the way. Some people don't like the word help, right? I take opportunities when I know the source is out of compassion. Right? Because if someone is offering opportunities for help, it has to demonstrate that they're compassionate first. And 90% of YouTube comments are not a place of compassion. It is a place of projection. It is ego stroking most of the time. Because there's no indication that they even know what I say. You know? So when I take advice, when I truly take advice, you'll know. And most of the time, it's not a give or take. I give because I choose to. And I also choose when to receive advice or when to take in advice. Right? That's a way to protect myself. But I will always give. I think for the most part, most of the time, I will attempt to give. And it is giving that is about 90% of the time. And it's totally worth it when you encounter those 10% chances, right? So that's kind of the idea. Why do I say 10%? It's actually less, but if you give more, you get a disproportionately less, you receive less. However, 10% is a lot, in my opinion. There are so many things that happen in life. 10% is great. And I always consider myself lucky when I encounter those. It's not that luck you can't control. You definitely can't control luck. You can certainly increase luck, though. And that's what I call it. So the more you give, the likelihood of something genuinely magical to come up, right? The whole idea of giving or creating and making things is the generosity. It's about generosity. So to me, I will continue to give, and it is those moments, in my opinion, when someone gives to that same thing, that's when the magic happens. And no amount of video comments, I will continue to, respond to video comments and stuff until I can't, right? Until I'm unable to give more, and we'll see how it goes. But usually all of this stuff, I wanted to tie in some of the things that I was spending time responding to, and then spend a good chunk to create another video to make it so that it's evident that my intent for Duolingo is not speed running, right? Like, speed running is weird, but speed running language learning is even weirder. Language learning is even weirder to me personally, and I don't speed run people. That's you're gonna be arguing against an incredibly stubborn MAKU. You're gonna be arguing against an incredibly stubborn MAKU if you're shortchanging people. You might not be able to have enough time for everyone. That's different from shortchanging people. When you choose to invest into someone, don't give like a 10%, oh, I care, and then you offer some like 10 cent advice and then paint yourselves as some like guru of something. So let's face it, I doubt people will be concerned with this remark, because after I give back 90%, their comments would be like, oh dude, don't take it so seriously. It's like, yeah, well, guess what? That's not my brand. Like, do you see? It's kind of related to what Gabriel asked yesterday about taking things slowly. Why things are more meaningful when you take it slowly versus living on a fast lane? Well, here it is. I have posted over 1,000 videos. Okay? I've posted over 1,000 videos. And my enthusiasm for any particular video hasn't waned, in my opinion. It hasn't waned. Because this is a product of consistency, not a product of efficiency. Do you know what a product of efficiency looks like? A 5-minute video. I can even tell you these things. All right, so cut, most hype moment. Then you start the clip, right? Hype moment's gonna be somewhere in here, right? Ending, alluding to other things, your other videos, right? Your other videos. And then in these moments are sped cut, right? Sped cut to interesting moments, like hyped moments, right? And cut out all the other stuff, right? Maybe 5 minutes. And you know what? If you were gonna do in 1 hour session, cut this into 20 videos of 5 minutes. It's not that extreme. Nowadays, like even the people that I watch, if you watch those, I think Shady would have a very funny comment about this. Even the people I watch, when they do long sessions like me, like 6 hours, for example, because we love what we do, at least I believe we love what we do, they would cut it into 30-minute sections. What does this do? Well, it emphasizes how people would be willing to watch a shorter format regardless how long it is in totality. And I didn't do that because I don't need to. What does this do? It creates quantity over quality. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, what does this sound like? Oh yeah, that's right. Efficiency versus what do I say? Efficiency versus value? I don't even know what the other word is. I'm gonna say efficiency versus intangible value. Oh, wait. Efficiency versus sentimentalism. Ooh, that's better. How about the word productivity? Well, the problem is efficiency has productivity as well. And productivity is actually synonymous with efficiency. So you have to be productive to be efficient. I think sentimentalism is probably sentimentalism and sustainability is probably what I would say. So emotional satisfaction, things that keep you going emotionally, like how you feel rewarded, how you feel identified, like things that keep you going, right? Because when you think of productivity and you think of efficiency, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you can keep doing it. What does efficiency and productivity look like when it's maxed out? Burnout. So it's not sustainable. Being the most efficient and the most productive you can ever be is not sustainable, because you're sacrificing sentimentalism oftentimes and you're sacrificing sustainability. What does sentimentalism look like? I did it my way. That's sentimentalism. Sustainability, what does that look like? I'm happy. So that's kind of the idea. So what do these things do? They enhance the quality of what you're doing. Efficiency often does have elements of quality and quantity, and so does the other have elements of quality and quantity. But the idea is, what is it skewed towards, right? How do you be more efficient? You're pumping out more things. You're doing them with a bottom line sufficient quantity, right? Or sufficient quality, but an emphasis on results, on productivity. Sentimentalism rarely is concerned. If you put out one fantastic video that took you 10 years to make, as opposed to putting out consistently 6 videos across those 10 years to get like a diminished return, but at the same time, what I mean by that is it's not that one is better than the other. You can do both. You can choose to do both and still kind of like, you know, the finish line's over here. Your path could look like this for efficiency or not efficiency, and then your path can look like this. You cannot anticipate if this path, the straight path, is going to take just as long with the same value. I know I'm writing backwards, but with the same value. Does this path have as long and compensated with its value? Right? So if you're focused on productivity and efficiency, yeah, sure, you're gonna save a lot of time. Good for you. Awesome. You saved a lot of time. That's awesome. If that's your jam, go for it. If saving, like, I don't know, a few months off of your Japanese hiragana practice or katakana practice, and it makes you feel great, that's a win-win. For myself, I think of not the time savings first, but the meaning first. And then if I end up saving time, that's a win-win too. But what I can't resonate with is someone who thinks that they're being caring and efficient at the same time when they show no evidence of caring. If your comment is quote unquote just saying, then remember, in my opinion, it's not me, perhaps. I might be doing the same thing in response. But if you're just saying, then your life is probably surrounded by people who just say things. Right? And I'm not gonna beat around the bush. The people that go around just saying things because they think they know better and they always know better and whatnot, the people around them are probably the same way. The people who stick around would say, oh yeah, that's okay, you're just saying. I'm not looking for those people, at least in my opinion. I don't think it will benefit me, or I can't reach to people who just say and mess around with people's feelings all the time. Like, I don't resonate with someone who can go up to someone and say, oh yeah, I'm just saying that I did right. I did this right. You are doing it wrong. And that's how you show you care. I mean, that just shows you care about yourself. Guess what that means? You're more psychopathic. You're more psychopathic than me. Well played. Well played. The sheer irony. I mean, if I'm psychopathic, then we can be psychopathic together. But there's a lot of emotional awareness that go into being able to make a comment that says, just saying I'm right and you're wrong. That is a lacking of empathy and emotions. So to me, it kind of made me laugh, but at the same time, I made my attempt. So let's wrap up this part. I have fallen far behind, so we're gonna adjust how our lessons work today. But thank you for always being so inspirational, Gabriel. I think Whenever you make a comment, it's so fascinating, and I really appreciate it. I needed a break from, doing the Duolingo thing, so this is pretty cool. And it goes back. Let's tie it all the way back to the whole like robotic, and I call it the one size fits all mindset. And I want to emphasize this. This is like the take-home message that I want to say. And I think I'm going to try to write this in the future in like a video comment or like some sort of trailer or something like that. There's room for both. And usually I say both because people look at 1 versus 2, right? But really, most of the time I want to say it's all of the above as well. All of the above. It can be all of the above or none of the above. The question is when to appropriately do that. And my personal message is, my personal unsolicited advice is, if you choose to do something, as in you desire to do something, why are you in a hurry? This is different from things you think you need to do. Like, I don't know, make money, right? Make money, feed yourself, shelter. Yes, I can definitely relate to that. First 20 years of my life. Money, feed, shelter, and then finally family. There are many things. These are the necessities. These are the prescribed path milestones. Absolutely. These are the times that are fantastic to be efficient, maybe, and stick to standards. You're on YouTube. All right? You're on YouTube. There are people who work as content creators, and there are people that don't. It's probably fairly easy to determine which one is which. I like to think that most people are competent enough to determine that. Now, I want to ask those people, if you choose to do something you desire, you love something, like you love fighting games, you love learning language, is there a reason why you're in such a hurry? Like, why are you concerned? Is there a reason why you are scared to mess up or waste time on something you love and desire? The whole idea of like better use of time. What better use of time is it to spend all the time doing something you like and choose to like? Usually, people use what they need to do as an excuse to optimize what they want to do. To me, you can do both. And when this stuff takes control over this stuff, then you're no longer happy. Sometimes you get lucky really lucky, and the things you want to do happens to help you with some of these things. And for me, I was lucky. The things I like and choose to do with no time wasted, like never feeling like I'm wasting your time, it actually helps me make money. It actually helps put food on the table. It actually helps put shelter. And I like to believe one day I might be able to start a family, right? And that's where I'm giving happiness. So, this is the source. I really earnestly believe that if everyone has something that they desire and want to do, and it isn't about like, oh man, there's better time, like better use of my time, like the thing that's making you happy, why aren't you making the most time for it, right? Like why do you want to be efficient with the things that, like, have you heard of someone who says, I love this video game so much, I hope I can beat it as fast as possible and then never think about it again. Come on now. Let's talk about this for a moment. Am I a psychopath for taking my time and not concerning myself on going through the ropes of becoming Japanese fluent? I don't even, honestly, with all due respect, I do not care about Japanese fluency. I care about people who love Japanese language, love the Japanese culture. If you care so much about making Japanese some job, fair point. Learning Japanese is not my job. I actually think if there's any job here, is to make people want to learn Japanese. The problem here is those very people that is making learning Japanese a job makes people not want to learn Japanese. And that's my concern. Actually, well, this whole journey now is often talking about those people a lot of times. People who are discouraging. Like they say they care, but they come on so strong that they scare people away from wanting to learn Japanese. Right? And that's not that's not malicious. It's not malicious. In fact, it's very passionate. It's very passionate, but unintentionally intense. Very intense. Like, dude, I just care about your Japanese progress, man. Like, you should really be doing this and this and this because that's the only way you'll be satisfied. Oh, so you're telling me that I'm already satisfied, but you're telling me that I'm dissatisfied. And because I'm literally being gaslit to believe I'm going to be dissatisfied, you have the solution for me. That is corporate. That is corporate talk. What is a great way to illustrate being the exact thing that you hate? Corporate talk. That's called fear. That's FOMO. Oh man, if you keep using Duolingo, you'll never become Japanese fluent, and then you can never enjoy using Japanese and talking to other people and doing shenanigans with other people. Like, all I can see here is I'm having the time of my life, in my opinion. And it's cool that there will always be, in my, like, humbly so, that there are many people who don't use Duolingo who will be great at Japanese. And they will probably want to share that knowledge with me because I'm someone who didn't do it the optimal way or something, right? The only really big draw here is when you do something almost intentionally, quote unquote, incorrectly, you are more likely to draw attention than one that is doing something incredibly standard. So the irony here is lots of people care about my well-being for some, like, or I don't know what the reason is. They care that I need to have views and learn Japanese properly and all that. All the while, the thing that they manage to achieve is to make asinine comments about my happiness and my expectations. As in, oh yeah, you're gonna regret it in the future. I'm like, all right. I mean, come on, I'm 37 years old and I still don't have a regret in my life. In fact, I was more regretful at the age of 20 than I was at the age of 30. And oftentimes, that's not how that works psychologically. I'm incredibly content about my life. Everything else I get is extra. If I become Japanese fluent, whew, that is extra. That is heckin' extra. And I don't want anyone else who hangs around or will see this video in the future, which I'll be posting as a separate tag. I hope that other people get to that position. You have your professional careers, the things you have to do. Get it done. Chop chop, robot, activate. Use ChatGPT and all that stuff. Use all the tools to get what you need to do. Closure in life, right? In my opinion, closure, austerity, happiness. Those things are hard to achieve when you're following not your ideas, right? You follow ideas to one day get to do this. So when you're following people's ideas and standards and whatnot, it is to create opportunities to do what you want, right? To do what you want. Isn't that fantastic? I'm so baffled what happened to this. When was it that people's happiness, closure, posterity is determined by other people? It's so shocking. Like, a lot of people spend most of their life getting jobs and careers, and the end goal, quote unquote, the end game that they want, their end game that they want is to not follow people's ideas, is to do what they want. So you go around spending your life trying to do what everyone else is doing. That's kind of weird. Like, I don't know about you, but if I'm gonna do a hobby, I'm not copying off of someone, right? Like, copying off someone, why would you do that? I don't know. You could definitely use their ideas at first, but when you're doing a hobby, you want to do what you want. Like, it's your thing, right? You work hard for it. Reward yourself. So that's my 2 cents. I think that's my take-home message. Thanks, Nojo. Thank you for the daily reminder. Appreciate it. So, here's my wish. Last little thing. My wish is that here comes the Keikona, by the way. Here comes the Keikona. Get her done. Get her done. Get her done. All right? Get her done. Standards, efficiency, and get her done. All right? Then make time to do what you want. All right, folks, and share that with the world. The world being like the internet, I suppose. Most of the content creators and influencers that I personally watch at the stage of my life are people who got her done, like get it done. Like they're done. They have like a working business model. They have a working career. They have a loving family. They even have posterity and closure, and they have work-life balance, right? And they make time for what they want to do, and they share with the world. Those people aren't out to tell you how to enjoy life. They're showing you how they enjoy life and hope that you get something too. Like maybe it'll help you find whatever it is that you want to do without being affected by the next person that jumps down your throat for saying, oh, you're doing it wrong, and then you break down and start being very apprehensive, right? There's no amount of FOMO and fear that can deter me from doing the things that I want to do. However, I have plenty of happiness and energy to go around talking about how to get things done. Just not here. This is not the place. I'm not here to tell you how to get her done because I'm creating content. I'm not your boss. I'm not your employee as well. So I don't do this professionally. You'll probably know for sure when I do this professionally. I'm a weird flex. Sorry guys, one last statement. A weird flex incoming. I am a very unlikable person if I need to get things done. So what I mean by that is I'm far less likable as a person who is pressured to make money, pressured to advertise, right? Pressured to get results, all those things. It's natural for that same person who needs to get things done, to become less and less likable to everyone else. What does that look like? Someone who's pushing merchandise, someone who's obeying the trend, who's trying to pump views, right? Generosity becomes productivity. Productivity becomes profitability. Not the other way around. It's a very slippery slope. So, yes, I'm going to take most of my time. And yes, most people aren't probably going to hear this rant. In fact, I know exactly what my metrics are. And I know that it is the most important things that I make in my content, at least I think I'm trying to make, are the least viewed things. Does that stop me from making them? No, it doesn't, because I love making them. So, and this one will go into that spot too. 2 hours, in my opinion, forever well spent. Hello there, Okami. So, there you go, guys. Get her done, right? Hyper efficiency, objectivity, best of, get her done. But I hope when you get it done, 20, 30, in your 40s, live long enough to be able to do what you want without fear and FOMO stopping you, and share it with the world. Because those people absolutely glow, in my opinion, as content creators. They just make you smile, and you can't. It's so passionately unadulterated, you know. And then be aware of when they have to be professional, you know, when they have to get it done, right? Get her done. The influencers that I watch, they have moments when they say, oh yeah, hey guys, by the way, I've taken on a sponsorship. This part we'll be doing, just to clarify things, this part we're gonna be business as usual, get things done, and then we can be silly and goofy later. I promise. That kind of thing, right? So hopefully everyone has that luxury. It's so weird that it's become backwards, where people change the things they want to do into the things they have to do. And that's a slight awareness I want to raise before the end of this section. Like, what happened to that? I'm still trying to answer that question. What happened to the whole idea where you suddenly now, the reason to get meaning from the things you want to do is suddenly to turn it into something you have to do. You want to turn your passion into about leaderboards. You want to turn your passion into something about competitive process. You want to turn that special thing that you want into adhering to standards and what other people are talking about. That thing you want to do is special to you. Why make it less special? These are all wonderful philosophical questions that you may want to ask yourself. Why turn the thing that you love and want to do and dearly and turn it into everything else? About how long it takes, about how good you are at it, or how other people think you. It's the thing, it's you, it's the it. It can be almost synonymous with the meaning of life. It could be your meaning of existence. And then you see me and I would ask you, like, I know why you're unhappy. Or at least I have a great example of why you're unhappy. And I won't even have to tell you why. I can get you to think about it on your own. Ask yourself, list down all the things you love to do. And do you love them now? And ask yourself, how did they change from the time you used to love them and the time you don't anymore? Oftentimes, most of it is changing that thing into efficiency. If you love something and you change it about efficiency, you're going to love it less and less over time. Because you're going to think about it as results. Results, results, results. Once you start applying that to everything you love and interests and hobbies, then your life becomes get her done every single day. Welcome to the low-key. Welcome to the Japanese work culture. And I'm not even Japanese, so like I'm gonna say that loosely. But the Chinese work culture is very similar as well. You turn, but a lot of times they start with get her done, and they never get to do what they want. So what I mean is, my family, my parents have always operated with get her done. They have trouble doing this now. They have trouble making time to do what they want. So they don't ever get into that stage. On the internet, it's taking everything you want to do and turning it into something that you must do. Be wary, in my opinion. Be wary. That was kind of a doom and gloom situation, huh? What I want to see in the future from anyone who's ever, like, if anyone said anything and I've ever acknowledged their existence, one day I want to see all of you guys, right? All of you guys. You're like, I made it, right? You make an I made it video. Please Please do that. It would bring a tear to my heart when maybe like 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, you make an I made it video and then you share with the world on the internet. Not just me, because I'm not the main character in this world, right? But I get to see what you end up doing when you made it. When you got to a point where you no longer have to spend 100% of yourself getting her done, and you end up getting like 5%, 10%, 20% of your life, 30%. Dear Lord, get half your percent of your life, like 50% of your life, and you get to spend that 50% doing what you want to do. Make videos on that, and I will be your biggest fan. Or at least I'm going to be one of your fans anyways, because that's what I want to see. I want to see everyone one day reach to a point where they aren't concerned with people constantly saying, oh yeah, you're not doing it right, you're not doing this right, because the content you're sharing is showing how you're so happy. You might even attract people who are upset that you're so happy. That's a possibility, right? I mean, I'm already getting grief about spending 8 hours on Duolingo when I just spent the last 3 hours not doing Duolingo at all, but using Duolingo as a form of expression. Right? There you go. At least that's this is a message to both anyone who will read this or see this, anyone who's here, thank you, I really appreciate it, and to myself in another 5 years. I like to think that there won't be too many tragedies in my life or things that I have to deal with that changes my perspective on here. But you know, to my future self out there, right? In the next 5 years, I hope I continue to make videos where it's about enjoying what I want to do, not because I have to do it. I don't want to be a content creator that has to do something. I don't want to share my burdens with other people, right? Like, oh guys, please, like, the thing like, oh, please buy this, please buy that, like spread the word here. I don't want to do that. I hope I don't have to do that. Doesn't exclude me getting a job in the future, right? I will have to get a job at some point in the future, in the near future, to get some stuff done. But nevertheless, do it, guys. Make the I made it video. I think this would be a great thing to do. Maybe I should work on a project for this. It's kind of a stealing an idea from someone else though. Fantastic people. It's like project for awesome kind of thing. Shouts out to the Greens brothers. But make an I made it video. I hope everyone makes an I made it video in the future. All right, with that said, right, get her done. Go work on that video. That's the take-home message. All right, I do have to go to the bathroom and then somehow figure out how to reschedule my lesson plan here. I'll be right back.